Hey guys! So today's video is very random. I literally just spur of the moment decided to film this. So basically, I'm in the middle of the Gilmore Girls readathon, which is supposed to be the first 2 weeks of October. And there's like 4 or 5 days left, and I haven't even read one book yet. And I had you can't see it's down there. I still had 1, 2, 3. I had 5 books that I had planned on reading in those 2 weeks, but I just haven't felt much like reading, and I don't think I really feel like reading those. And so in order to make up for some books, I decided to do this reading challenge. So you probably know from watching my videos, but I tend to listen to a lot of audiobooks. That's the majority of the way I get my reading done. And especially now with all of these books that I have to get through that I'm not very excited about, if I'm not very excited, I just don't want to read it. And so I can just put an audiobook on and listen to it and get it over with. So I decided to just go through and see which books on my shelf I had available right now that had no wait on my library. And I came up with 4 books that I now plan on reading. Let's say in the next week. It probably will be a little bit long because these are all, especially these 3, are all huge. But yeah, so that's my plan. Let me hurry and go over them. I don't even know what most of them are. So this first one is Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. Let's see, this blurb from Jenny Han says, Windfall is all about all my favorite things. A girl's first big love, her first big loss, and her first big luck. Stephanie Perkins says, Windfall is rich with the intensity of real love and all of its heartache and hope. And then Windfall, this is Morgan Matson. Windfall is perfectly named. Reading it, I feel like I had suddenly found something wonderful. It's a story about love and luck and the way our lives can change in an instant. I laughed and cried and bought a lottery ticket the very next day. So I think just another generic YA love story with some hard-hitting stuff in there. Here it is. Next up is Jem and Dixie by Sarah Zarr. So Jem has never known what it is to have security. She's never known an adult she can truly rely on, but the only constant in her life has been Dixie. Jem grew up taking care of her sister when no one else could. Not their mother, whose issues make it hard for her to keep food on the table, and definitely not their father, whose intermittent presence is the only thing worse than this frequent absence. Okay, so this is another thing that I'm just kind of over reading, especially since I've been back on BookTube and I've been trying to just consume a ton of books. I swear every young adult hard-hitting contemporary is about an absent dad, or one that's not very, very often, and a mother who has significant mental health issues that make it so they're not very good moms. I feel like that is always what happens in everything that I've been reading, which is a good topic, but I feel like it is so overused. I want to read something else. So another one of those. This book, I honestly have no idea why I bought it. Well, I do. It's because it was a book outlet sale that was either scratch and dent or something. That was so super cheap. It was a couple bucks, and so I got it. And then as soon as I got it, when I pulled out the box, I was like, I don't even want to read this. That is The Infinite in Between by Carolyn Mackler. And it says, 5 teens, 4 years, an unforgettable journey. In the beginning, the 5 of them made a promise. It was the day before the first day of high school. Gregor, Whitney, Jake, Zoe, and Maya wrote letters to their future selves, hid them in a secret place, and vowed to unearth them at graduation, as if any of them had a clue what the next 4 years had in store. In her most ambitious novel yet, award-winning author Carolyn Mackler... Oh, I thought it was a spider. It was a fly. Sorry. Delivers a rich, humorous, heartfelt saga of high school in the 21st century. So, yep. And then lastly is Hate List by Jennifer Brown. It says, I didn't mean for anyone to die. So this does say that it includes the Hate List novella, Say Something. Quite a bit of I can't know if you can tell, but a good little bit. I mean, it's still a very long book. But I am kind of intrigued more by really big, long books. Again, just YA stories this big don't intrigue me very much anymore. Anyways, I have to hurry and wrap this video up. So, this part. I have to get on a call for work. It says, the list was my idea. I didn't mean for anyone to die. Will you ever forgive me? 5 months ago, Valerie, Thefman's boyfriend Nick, opened fire on the school cafeteria. Val was as shocked as anyone else, but despite her own serious injury, she's implicated in the crime because of the list. The list she and Nick made of people they hated, the list Nick used to pick his targets. So this book really, I've read quite a few books about like school shootings and things like that, and it is a very interesting topic to me. So this one was the one that I was most like, I could probably read this one, and I might read along with it as well. But I'm most excited probably for this one. So that is my list of these 4 big books to get off of my shelf, and I'll take you along the way as I do that, and I'll see you in 1 second. Okay, update, since I haven't given one. First thing I listened to was Hate List by Jennifer Brown, and this one was by far the longest. So I thought it was gonna take me forever, but I actually listened to this in like 2 days or something like that. I took it up to my parents' house while I was dog/house sitting. Currently now dog sitting at my house because the dog is so annoying. Anyways, I actually liked this pretty well. I mean, it was still just it was fine. It was nothing earth-shattering. It was fine. I think that there's a lot of people that could really like this. I appreciated, again, my appreciation points always go for a young adult character who doesn't read super immature. This is a book about a girl who is dating a boy, and she's kind of getting bullied, and he's this social outcast. And so she kind of complains and vents to him about different people at the school who are bullying her, and they start a hate list in this notebook of all the people that they hate and the reasons why and things like that. And he ends up doing a mass shooting at the school, and she doesn't know about it. And so then it's kind of like goes a little bit back and forth. It mainly stays in the present time, but goes a little bit into the past of like the day that it happened and before, and kind of the things that happened. And then it shows her with her family and her therapist, and just how then the school changes and the way that they treat her after the shooting and things that happen. And I just thought I appreciated it, and I thought that it was pretty well done. It definitely did not feel like it was a 400 pages. Maybe that's because I was able to listen to this one. The fastest I can listen to on my library app is at 2 times speed. I know some people do 3, but I can't even do that. It's not an option. But most time I listen at like 1.75. That's something I'm also learning, is some books, for whatever reason, readers must read it differently. Because this I was able to listen to it at a 2. The next book, I could only listen to 1.75. It was too fast that I couldn't really absorb it all. Anyways, I flew through it. I was entertained the whole time, but it wasn't wowing me. It was fine. I think a lot of people will like it. Next up, still when I was at my parents', I decided to try to listen to Windfall. And let me tell you, this was the most atrocious audiobook I have ever heard in my life. A female narrator, and when she would read the parts of, I can't even remember who it was. I didn't get very far into it. One of the boys, Teddy. It was the most annoying voice I have ever heard. Like, oh gosh. I don't think I can do that this entire book. And I tried to like let it go, see how I could do, and I made it nowhere into this book. And I was literally like, I cannot. This will make me hate this book. And I kind of was enjoying the topic of it and the idea of it. So it might just have to go back on my shelf. Well, we'll go back on my shelf. And I'll just have to try to physically read it at some point. This audiobook will never happen. So since I could not get into that at all, let's fix my stack here. I then decided to pick up Jem and Dixie by Sarah Zarr. And I really liked this. I really like this line. It was a really short book. So this book is about two sisters, and okay, before I get into what it's about, let me explain some things. Let me change the angle and annoy everybody. There we go. So this is another book about a troubled mother-daughter relationship where the mom has, you know, drug issues or isn't around or is really rude to the kids. You know, like I said in some of my last few videos, I feel like that's all I have been reading in YA is these just like hard mother-daughter relationships, which is good. I think it's a good topic, and I'm sure there's people who really relate to it and need that, but I just feel like it's literally like every book I'm picking up and I'm just so over it. So I think if I would have read, like, this is one of my first books with that topic, this would be, I loved it, amazing, so great. But since I've read so many, I feel like I'm kind of like, okay, I'm over this, so it's not so good. So if I take that out, this is probably like a love for me, I think, because it did do that, but it did a few other things as well. It didn't just solely focus on that. It's about these two sisters who their dad is absent from their lives, and their mom is really struggling. Their parents struggled with like alcohol and drugs all throughout their lives, and you know, so their dad's eventually left, and then the mom is trying to hold it together. She works nights, and the younger sister, Dixie, is kind of like her mom's favorite, and they tell each other secrets. And then Jem is kind of the one trying to hold things together. And Dixie really falls for, so their dad comes back at one point, and she just immediately thinks that everything's gonna be great, and Jem's trying to explain to her, like, there's something up, like, he's just gonna use us, this isn't, you know, whatever, please just, like, don't trust him. And just things happen, and the story itself was really sad and beautiful, and just why I probably wouldn't also give this like a wow love is because it kind of felt a little disjointed in the sense of some of the things that were happening weren't that intriguing, and I didn't feel necessary, and I wanted more from some other things. Again, like I kind of talked about, this would be an awesome book to be written in the way that Bryn Greenwood writes a book, where you didn't really hear anything from like the parents' point of view, and some of the things that happen later on in the book, like I really wish they would just flash back for a second and just see like what was happening with their parents, and like, because it heavily involved them, but we didn't get anything from them, just that kind of thing. But they're really mature characters, so hit that point for me. And I think some of it too is also just that little bit of unrealisticness, like the ending. So it did that other thing that I don't like, another thing that I don't like, where it's like there's this stuff happening and it's so detailed, and it's only like a week of time or like a few days of time, and it's telling you everything, and that's kind of thing where I'm like, okay, this isn't super necessary. And then like the ending is just super rushed and unrealistic, and kind of like, well, that probably wouldn't happen after what we just seen. And I don't understand the ending. I don't think that that's really what would happen in real life, but maybe it would. I don't know. I haven't experienced this, but if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about, maybe. But so maybe it wasn't a love. It was just another, it was fine. There's probably a ton of people that really, really enjoy this book a lot, I'm sure. And then today I started Infinite in Between, and I'm not loving it so far. I'm about an hour into the audiobook, And it's gonna be one of those, I think for an audiobook, it's also gonna be hard because there are so many characters, and each chapter, oh, opened right up to one, is like the person. So like this is Jake's chapter, so that helps you like know who is who. And since I'm not seeing that, I think it's not helping as much, but it is a long book, so I will probably remember mostly characters, who is who or who's. I remember more of like the stories, if that makes sense. I can't remember their names. But yeah, so I think this is gonna be the last one because I don't think I'm gonna be doing Windfall. And so yeah, things have taken a weird turn this month for me and my reading plans. Not that it matters in this video, but I was planning to do 2 readathons and I didn't do anything for the first readathon. And the second readathon is about halfway over and I haven't started anything for that either. I've mainly just been reading these. So anyways, I will get back when I have finished Infinite in Between and we will wrap this thing up. Alrighty, so here is my final thoughts and wrap up of this video. So the last book I had was Infinite in Between by Carolyn Mackler, I don't know. And I am actually DNFing this book. I kind of had a feeling that I wasn't going to like this very much. Not that I think it's a horrible book. This is not getting a hate from me. This is just a not for me. I am not the intended audience for this book. These characters are starting out in their sophomore year, and there's like so many characters, 4, 5, something like that, of these kids. And it's very much just a character-driven story, which you should know is not my favorite. I need more of a plot, and I was just really bored with it. It was that predictable sense of every kid was going through something really hard, kind of that you don't know what others are dealing with, which is important and good, but I found the characters to be really immature, some of them be really annoying. I can't remember any of them, who they are. The audiobook wasn't great. I think that probably had a little bit as well to do with it, but I was just really bored with the reader. And, you know, I'm not sad about it. I know with the collection that I have currently for my TBR, I was just in the beginning of my booktube career, if you want to call it that, and I was just buying everything. I would get on Book Outlet and I would just put everything in my cart and not even like, I'd read the synopsis if it briefly sounded like it'd be good and I'd buy it. And so I know that there's going to be a lot of things that I really just don't care for, and I know that I got them super cheap. So I'm not that sad about it. I don't know if I will even be keeping this book. I may be DNFing it just because I didn't appreciate the way that some of the things were handled in it, and I just feel like it was basically, I don't know, like this is where things are weird, because I know when I was this age as well, everyone's thinking about sex and kissing and who's with who, and there is some queer topics that are in here for some of them, and I think that's important because, can you hear that wind? It is crazy out there. I gotta see if my trash can's still here. Oh my goodness, it's so windy. I was just out there teaching a class. It's nuts. I just got home. Anyways, so yeah, there's some characters that I feel like are really having, you know, like identity, not crisis, but identity, trying to figure out who they are and things. And then there's other ones who are just like constantly, all they're thinking about is like, I want to have sex with this person. I want to have my first kiss, you know? And I was just like, I don't have any interest in reading about this. So maybe it's interesting for some people, but stuff like that, it's just not interesting. And so I've decided, I can't remember if I said, I'm at like 70% in the audiobook. And I've just decided, like a lot of people with DNS, where I'm just thinking that if I'm not loving something, I'm not gonna make myself do it just because I feel like I have to. This is a really long book. I got to 70%. Nothing was changing. It was just the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And it just follows, let me tell you a little bit more. So it follows these 5, 6, however many kids from sophomore year of high school, and they are put into this group for an icebreaker challenge, and they decide that they're going to write letters to their future selves and open them at the same place on their graduation day. And so then it's just like following them year by year, and it's so also like just like choppy. It's really weird where Carolyn has decided to put emphasis on and things that just like completely she blows over. Like, you'll be reading one character and then you go to the next character and it's months later and it's just like, oh yeah, my mom was in the hospital and so now I'm back. Like, it's just really weird. Like, she doesn't give any build up to anything. It just, things just are happening. And it was just, I didn't enjoy how it was written either. It just didn't flow for me. And so this is definitely not for me. So let's hurry, and I've already talked about them in length. So then we have Gem and Dixie, and this one was pretty good, and I pretty enjoyed. This was probably my favorite from the 4. So I would recommend Gem and Dixie above all. And then we had the hate list, which was very long, but flew by very fast. And I would still recommend this. This one, it was fine. Again, not necessarily was this my demographic meant for me. So I'm sure younger people will really enjoy this. I really enjoy reading about this topic. I think it's very interesting. And then I'm not gonna go get it. I put it back on my shelf, but then we had the what's it called? What was it called? Windfall. Windfall that I put back because there was no way in hell I was ever going to be able to listen to that audiobook. It was absolutely horrendous. So I didn't necessarily DNF it. I will try to physically read it at some point when it comes up again in my life, but that audiobook will never happen for me. So I'm pretty happy with getting through 3 books and getting them off of my shelf and onto this shelf. It makes me very happy. Because that's the whole point, like I've said a million times, is just trying to trying to get through this TBR and get into some more things that I'm more interested in reading and finding out what I'm interested in reading. This year, this last part of this year, I really feel like is almost a character study into myself of what I want to read, what interests me, and not caring so much about what others are reading and if I should be reading them, and just reading what I enjoy, what interests me. And so, yeah, I'm being more conscious about the books that I am buying and giving myself a break about the stuff that I don't enjoy and DNFing it and getting rid of some of the stuff. But that is all I have for you today. And I hope that you are all well and that you are having a good life, and I will see you next time. Bye!